I will now call the October 22nd, 2025 regular Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. This meeting has been posted in accordance with Nevada open meeting law. Majority of voting members are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is the initial comment period. Public comment during this portion of the meeting must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. Each person has up to 3 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item. The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide comment. If there's anyone in the audience at this time that would like to make a comment, please come to the podium and state your name for the record.
Okay, there we go. Brandon Smith for the record. First of all, I just want to, this is in regards to agenda item number 3, just like to thank the commission for acknowledging that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. So in regards to our main drag and turning the motel district into an official designated historic corridor, I just want to say again, thank you for recognizing that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. We had a near scare there with pink box and 10-foot tall mascots that look like poo. And I think this represents an opportunity to set the corridor straight so that these issues are not present going forward. I think once we begin to lose the character of that motel district corridor, it's just something that we'll never retrieve. It'll be gone forever. I think that ultimately we don't want to run into some of the troubles that the residential historic agreement has caused, because I don't think it's hasn't really fixed what it was intended to fix. I think if we keep the language a bit on the lighter side and a little more interpretive, whereas when the motels are coming to you and asking for whatever they're asking for to do with their sign, as long as it's respectful, or to do with their property, as long as it's respectful to the corridor, I think, it's probably something that we should just kind of get away with. It would just be a shame for that corridor to change character. It is the face of our city as we drive straight into the heart of our town. And I think there's a lot of people who come to Boulder City just for the historic nature of the city itself. And I think it's important that that corridor is recognized as a significant contributor to the character of our town, and we should do all that we can do to preserve that. Specifically, I think on tonight's agenda is to discuss reviewing both the motel historic sign district, in addition to some of the World War II properties in town. I think there's like 4,000 and something of those, and we've got, I don't know, probably 8 properties in the motel sign district that probably would need to be reviewed. I'm going to politely ask that you guys try and do all you can do to separate those 2 initiatives so that we can really jump all over the motel sign district and get that hooked up pretty quickly in a reasonable time frame so that we can avoid any immediate desecration of that particular corridor. I think if we've got to wait for a Title 11 rewrite or wait for a 4,000 plus property audit to happen, I think we'll lose that corridor and probably forever. So I know the budgets are quite different for each phase of that. I would like to suggest again politely that we try and break those apart. And if it's a budget issue for coming up with the initial sum for the historic district, I would hope that either the city, the commission, or the council would reach out, and we'll do all that we can do to maybe fundraise those funds or whatever we have to do to kind of jumpstart that initiative for the motel district. Thank you so much.
So I'll follow up with what Brandon was talking about and tell you a little bit about myself. I moved to Boulder City in 2005.
Excuse me, can you please introduce yourself for the record?
Yes. My name is David Hancock, and I
you.
live on 557 Elm Street. And I've been there since about 2005. And my interest in the signage in Boulder City came about when the Nevada Inn, during a windstorm, the Nevada Inn, their sign toppled over into the parking lot. And it was I took a look at it as a really cool old sign, as a cool sign from the mid-century. And I talked to the owner. I said, "Hey, let's do something with the sign. Let's put it back up. Let's restore it." And he said, "Yeah, I'd really like to do that." He looked into it and found out it was really, really expensive to rescue that sign and put it back where it needed to be, up on its post again. It laid there for several months, and eventually it was just scrapped and hauled away, and now it's gone. But that got me interested in looking at a lot of other signs throughout Boulder City. Just on the way over here, there's just all kinds of really great signs in Boulder City. A lot of them have to do with the motels, but also I looked at the Boulder Theater sign, 1932. It's an Art Deco sign with. It was built with neon, the neon glass tubes and all that. Really great looking sign. To recover that sign would be really expensive for the owner. The Southwest Diner, that's my favorite sign in town. Just another really great design. And again, it's a complicated design, one of a kind, and would be really hard to restore. And so what I'm hoping for is just to bring awareness of what we have. It's a real treasure to have what we have here in Boulder City from this different era. People don't put up signs like that anymore. It's just not the way businesses work anymore. But the ones we have been just there and unnoticed and have just kind of escaped the passage of time. But here they are. They're a real treasure. And for the motel signs, some of them have been rescued and taken really good care of. And others around town, there's probably 20, 25, 30 different really nice commercial signs from the mid-century that I think they're worth saving, and I'd like to bring awareness to it and just bring your attention to it. The more I get together with friends, we talk about things like this all the time, and this is one topic that we end up on all the time, and we're talking about these signs, especially the ones going down through the commercial corridor. Some really great signage in there. So I just wanted to be here today just as an opinion, just as a comment, to say I really like them, and if there was some way that we could create some kind of incentive for the sign owners to take care of their signs in one way or another, Certainly funding would be a great thing. If we could find some way to help them out on that, it would be great. But yeah, those are my comments for today. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brenda Delormier, and thank you all for adding this to the agenda. I appreciate it. And just as some background, I requested this back in January, long before I ever thought I would own an abandoned motel on this stretch. So for the record, I purchased the Flamingo Inn earlier this month. And I do support allocating funds for the study of these buildings and the signs, and adding the motel sign district to a historic, or making it a historic district. And I agree with everything that Brandon and Dave just said. I've loved driving down the corridor ever since I moved here, ever since I've been coming here as a tourist since 2004. And so I think it's like Dave said, I think it's a really good way to educate people on an era that is not so well preserved throughout the Las Vegas Valley. And Boulder City actually has a really good number of these buildings and signs. For example, it's a nod to the car culture of the 50s, 60s, that era. They're meant to be large, colorful, neon, kind of gaudy, and that was to attract motorists from driving down the road to say, like, "Hello, we're here." So I think it's especially helpful now that tourism is down. I think we all know it was down 12% in August from the prior year. It's helpful for that. It's also helpful for the fact that we do a lot of car shows in town. So I think it lends itself to Nevada history, to what's going on in our current culture, and to what Boulder City values, obviously, like their car shows. I think it would help to eliminate some of the blight on this corridor, obviously with the property that we just bought, and several of the others. Having it be a historic district would give us access to the Historic Preservation RDA grant, which pays back at a higher rate. So maybe property owners that haven't been able to access the RDA grant, maybe that's out of their reach, it could help them renovate their properties. I think they covered everything, so I won't repeat everything they said, but I do appreciate you discussing it tonight, and I hope you'll allocate funding for adding this as a historic district. I do hope that it won't be, I'll say, as heavy-handed as a property owner in the residential historic district. And I do hope that you can help educate the motel owners, the business owners, on some guidelines for appropriate design for that era. So that would be something that's really helpful, I believe. So thank you all, and really appreciate it.
Public comment, please go ahead.
Heavy-handed as the property owner in the
Please,
residential
could you turn off the video in the back?
Yes, I'm sorry. It's off.
Perfect, go ahead, just state your name for the record.
Okay, she's still talking.
Oh, I was talking
So should I
directly to
start
you,
now?
sorry.
Or should I talk?
Yes, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. So my name is Robin Baker, and as always, I want to thank all of you for the time and effort you put into the preservation of Boulder City's historic district by sitting on the Historic Preservation Commission. I am really excited about this sign district for several different reasons. Number one, I have heard more about historic preservation from a larger variety of people related to the preservation of these signs and creating a district specific for that purpose than I have in the past on any other issue. Number two, I think it opens an opportunity to generate a new source of funding to energize the businesses in Boulder City to seek funding for things that do need to be updated, restored. And number three, I think that it might be an opportunity to access local experts who are on hand and available, who know the history and generate more excitement about historic preservation. I think we're in an interesting time. You know, the community development manager's position is open. There's the possibility of reimagining the job description and possibly the job title for community development to include historic preservation as part of it. So possibly this is the beginning with starting this sign district and creating that enthusiasm. Thank you so much.
We have another one on the line. Okay. Public comment, please go ahead.
Yes.
Please introduce yourself and go ahead with your public comment.
Hi, I'm Amanda Farrar, and I live on the Avenues. I'm calling to express strong support for formally acknowledging the design contribution of the historic motels area of Nevada Way, and I'm hoping we can retain its unique historic charm. The initial entranceway to our town is for the most part an underwhelming strip malls and fast food restaurants. But unlike that, this proposed historic motel sign district portion of Nevada Way, it's the gorgeous winding road area where visitors start to feel excitement like they've discovered a gem. This is the gateway to our historic downtown business restaurant area, and I think that's really important. The quality of the buildings and signs within that area that runs from Nevada Inn to the El Rancho Boulder, they really add to the attractiveness of our town. And I feel strongly that we can't have that lost in the same way that most of Route 66 has been lost. Cities all over the world protect the character and charm of their historic commercial areas. But in our case, what looks good already exists. It's good for residents, it's good for tourism, it's good for our home values, and it just fits in perfectly with our desire to be and to remain a unique place. So paying special attention to this area, I think it's absolutely right for Boulder City. Thank you.
Any other comments in the audience? Go for it.
Hi, my name is Tim Cherno. I live at 632 Avenue I. Thanks for preserving our history. Tell you a little story. Whenever my friends come to town, after they go through our charming historic gates, I go, "Do you notice it yet?" And they go, "No." And I go, like, "It's all organic. This is all just real." And they freak out, right? They freak out because what we have here is organic and beautiful. One could see that if our good friends at Disney were to plan to make a little charming little town that people from all over the country could go visit in California or in Orlando, they would say, send them to Boulder City, Nevada to see what it really looks like and copy that, because that's what we have. And I'd never really thought about the downtown motel signage district as being a district until last night when I drove through at night, and it just hit me. All those lights in those motels, it just added the charm, and it's beautiful and it's organic, and we have it now. Not far away from us, there is a sign, a tourist attraction with signs. It's called the Neon Museum, and people come from all over just to see those signs that have been rehabilitated to bring them back to life. And we have them actually serving a function in our community right here. And to say that we acknowledge it and preserve it, and not just to preserve it, but if we were to look to recognize it and support it, then we're looking at an organic value that we already have that is a value to our businesses, to make people want to come here and remember us and see something that is truly unique, and to be able to support our businesses, and then that supports our entire community. It's what drives our community. And it's here and it's now, and all we got to do is give it a nod and maybe sprinkle a little water on it, a little money on it to support it and make it even better than it is. I'll just close with saying I was talking to a friend of mine who had been in town. They live in Colorado. And this is what they said. They said, I've never seen a town like Boulder City. In all their travels, they go all over the country, they camp all over the place, but they say it's just the right size. It's walkable, it's charming, and it's real. And we have it. And we have this one slice of it that if we protect it and we nurture it, we can make it even better. And it would be something that would be terrific for our city. So bravo you, because I know you're going to do it. So thank you.
Were there any written comments? No written comments, okay. Seeing that there are no more comments, we will close the initial comment period and move on to agenda item number 1, approval of the minutes of the September 24th, 2025 regular meeting. Do I have a motion for an approval?
I approve.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved unanimously. Agenda item number 2 for possible action, matters pertaining to a certificate of appropriateness for 640 Avenue C.
Okay, good evening, Chairman Davenport, members of the commission. Nikisha Lyons, City Planner with the Community Development Department. So item number 3 before you tonight, this is a public hearing and consideration of a certificate of appropriateness for 640 Avenue C, as you can see on the screen on the location map. This is for restoration of an outdoor patio and siding changes on a single-family dwelling that's located on this property. Show these first. So this home was built in 1931 in the National Folk architectural style, and it's a single-family home, and it's an example of the 6 companies' employment residence. Despite minor modifications to the dwelling since it was originally constructed, it does retain its integrity of location, setting, feeling, workmanship, and association, and it is considered a contributing resource within the historic district. Additionally, the residence is individually eligible for designation on the National Register of Historic Places. At the local level, this is under Community Planning and Development Area of Significance, being that it was built between 1931 and 1945. And then under Criteria A for its association with the early development of our city, and as an intact residential property constructed by the 6 companies and corporation, as well as under Criterion C as an intact example of a National Folk Style residence. The Boulder City Hoover Dam Museum, they acquired this property back in 2017, and they're rehabilitating the existing residence. They plan on removing the existing siding and stucco exterior finishes and replacing these elements with historically accurate wood drop siding. So let me go back to the architectural elevations. They are also going to be removing the north patio that was enclosed. They're going to be reopening that patio, and it's going to essentially match the original design. So per Chapter 27 of City Code and the associated Certificate of Appropriateness Matrix, the proposed work does require commission review and approval of a Certificate of Appropriateness, which is why this is in front of you tonight. The applicable criteria that the building architectural modifications must meet, and they must conform to the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and the adopted design guidelines for the National Folk Style. So city staff has coordinated with our historic preservation consultant, Courtney Mooney, who is actually present tonight. She's with Broadbent and Associates, and this is for compliance review in regards to these improvements. So starting on page 18 of the agenda packet, that starts Mooney's review in regards to indicating whether the improvements are complying with the Secretary of Interior standards as well as the design guidelines, and it does comply with all of the applicable standards and design guidelines. In regards to the Secretary of Interior standards, the proposed renovation of the property, this will foster the reuse of the residence as a home museum. This will not require any additional permitting from the city, just to clarify that from the staff report. The proposed project will retain and preserve all original and historic features and materials from the restoration period or period of significance, again, 1931 to 1945. The changes will not result in the creation of a false sense of historic development, and all work will be thoroughly documented, and new work will be identifiable as such. The proposed project does not include removal of any of the historic fabric and will restore historic exterior materials in kind. The project will also restore the original floor plan of the front patio, which is on the east and north elevation of the home. The non-original siding will be replaced with a 6-inch wood drop siding that matches the original siding that was used. This type of siding is documented in the original plans that were prepared by the Bureau of Reclamation. So all work complies with historical documents, images, and the Bureau of Reclamation's architectural plans that are on file with the Boulder City Hoover Dam Museum. In regards to the design guidelines, the proposed project meets all of those applicable design guidelines as well, as the proposed work is considered a restoration of the historic materials in the floor plan. So if approved tonight by the commission, staff can move forward with approving the building permit related to the improvements. The application has been noticed in accordance with city code, and the city has not received any written public comments. So the request before the commission tonight is to review the application and make a motion to approve or deny the certificate of appropriateness. This is based on the findings as denoted in the motion language that starts on page 15 of the agenda packet, and the plan set related to the proposed improvements that starts on page 16 of the agenda packet. So staff, as well as Ms. Mooney, we are available for any questions that the commission may have. We also have representatives from the Boulder City Hoover Dam Museum and Historical Association here tonight, as well as their contractor, and they will be able to answer any additional questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a excuse me, I do have a question for the city, because later in the agenda, it mentions that work on this was proceeding before they received a COA or a permit. And I was just curious, like, how do we fix that?
So they did start work. We did receive notice of that. So we went ahead and contacted them about what was going on. Our building official went out and inspected what was going on as well. So he put a stop work order on the property. And then we met with everyone involved, the contractor, as well as representatives from the museum, in order to get on the same page as what the process would look like for them. So from those conversations, they went ahead and submitted this application as well as applied for the building permit.
About how long did that take when they started the work and then when we got to this point?
Yeah, so we were notified like in early September, and now we're here. So we had a little bit of back and forth about the design and making sure that it complied with the guidelines, and we had to schedule meetings and things like that. So that took a little bit of time, but yeah.
Okay. But not months?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, does the commission have any comments or?
I just want to state that, in my professional opinion, I concur with Courtney Mooney's assessment. It does meet all 8 of the SOI standards and would be retaining its historic value.
I concur. Thank you for doing the right thing. This is exactly what's needed in Boulder City for these types of properties, especially for this one. This is the gem of housing in Boulder City. It's the most original, as far as I can tell. So thank you, museum folks, for pursuing this project. I appreciate it. And I have nothing to say about the design, and I concur with Courtney's assessment, and go forward and do great things and keep us posted.
Madam Chairman, we would need a public hearing as part of this.
Oh. So, do I need to call that or just?
Yes.
So any, but this is the public comment portion for this agenda item. Is this also limited to 3 minutes? Okay. And do people can call in as well?
Yep.
The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide comment. And thank you for coming forward from the audience.
Good evening again, Commission, City. Brandon Smith for the record. I actually own a home on Avenue C. I am in great favor of any updates to that property. It's been a long time in the coming, and any legal improvements that you can make to that property are very welcome to that particular street and that particular block, because we need all the help that we can get. These homes continue to deteriorate beyond reasonable usability, which tends to lead to them dropping off the register altogether or be non-contributing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, this one being owned by the city itself represents an opportunity to do it like you mean it, and set an example for the rest of the city to follow along. So thank you for doing a stop work order like you'd expect to have happen for any other improvement that was not being done the way it was supposed to be doing, and then fixing it all, and then obviously stepping up and making it right. So thank you very much for that.
Seeing that there are no additional comments, we will close this comment period. Now we move forward to either approve or deny this request. Do I have a motion to approve or deny this action?
I approve. I move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for 640 Avenue C based on the findings that the proposed work complies all of the applicable Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and the city's adopted design guidelines.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approves. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 3 for possible action, discussion regarding a motel sign historic district.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So, as noted earlier, this was at the request of the Commission at last month's meeting to evaluate the potential creation of a new historic district within Boulder City. Staff has put together some analysis, and I'm going to turn this over to Courtney Mooney to further elaborate, but I just wanted to kind of frame the issue. So, Commission's asked to look at specifically a historic district for the motel block that's referred to and has been mentioned in the past. We've also provided information on goals 3.1 and 3.2 because they relate. And what I'm referring to is goals 3.1 and 3.2 within our historic preservation plan, because the first steps that would be needed to evaluate a new historic district for the motel area would be similar to implementation of goals 3.1 and 3.2, because it requires the survey of the properties within those contributed time periods. And so I will turn it over to Courtney Mooney to further elaborate on the process and then have the Commission discuss.
Good evening, Commission. Courtney Mooney, Broadbent and Associates. So I was asked to put together a cost estimate for doing a context report about the motels on Nevada Way. There are roughly 8, just at first glance, that we were able to find. And so it's not a very large area, which would explain the cost estimate, the amount. So the scope would be basically conducting research on the motels, 9 motels, and hotels in Boulder City, primarily along Nevada Highway, and we would have to kind of include the Boulder Dam Hotel into that context as well. The development of motel signage and sign technology in Boulder City and Southern Nevada, and of course the individual histories associated with each of the properties. We would prepare a historical context regarding the above, and then we would conduct an intensive level survey of the motels, hotels, and associated signage. And we would, of course, document with representative photographs of the buildings and structures and objects and streetscapes, any associated structures which would include the signage. Then we would provide a draft and final report containing the historical context and detailed physical descriptions of all the motels and hotels, all associated images and maps, and recommendations for individual building and or signage or district eligibility, listing in the National Register and the Boulder City Register. And we would, of course, present a draft presentation to Boulder City HPC, and revised deliverables would include all of the HPC and staff comments. And then we would present a final presentation. And this does not include an actual preparation of a nomination. This is a historic context with recommendations to pursue if desired by the city. And I just wanted to make a comment that that we were also asked, and we discussed with the commission last year, I believe, it's been a few months at least, about doing a citywide historic context. The scope is essentially the same, except it would, encompass the entire city, excluding the historic district. And these would be for buildings constructed between 1931 and 1986, and these motels would be in there. There are approximately 2,500 properties in that extended area, but we would not be looking at every single property. We would essentially be going, okay, we're going to look at this commercial area and take, representative photos of buildings within that area, or specific subdivisions and take representative photos of homes within the subdivisions, if that's in phase 2, if we find during the context that these are significant. So the motels would be included in that as part of that. However, understanding that there is some interest in pulling that forward, we can also do that as well. So whatever the commission, the path you decide to take, is we're prepared to move forward on.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of a neighborhood conservation district?
I've heard of them, but there are none in Boulder City, correct? There is not a conservation district?
Correct.
Correct.
Is that something that you can do to evaluate a little bit more? Because I learned a lot about it in this summer program that we had, and it's an overlay that allows for some exceptions. And I noticed that one of the things that a lot of people get upset about us when we don't approve something in the historic district because it's not appropriate. Mm-hmm. But the conservation overlay allows for certain things like double pane windows, where they don't have to come before us each time to get an approval on that, because it's already set that they can do something like that. Is that something that you can do some research on as well, and see if maybe this whole new district that you're talking about looking at might be better suited as a conservation district instead of a historic district?
I think that we can look at that as a recommendation. However, it would have to be something that is in the municipal code to allow for a conservation district before it could be implemented, if that makes sense. So that's something that staff, would have to discuss, and whether or not that's a thing that a direction the city wants to go in. But yes, I'm familiar with conservation districts, and they are typically reserved for neighborhoods or areas that may or may not meet the historic district standards that are already in place. And usually the property owners are allowed to kind of come together and decide what they want to protect about that neighborhood. So it might not be, like, for example, if we were looking at the motels, and it might not be the signage, or it might not be, or it might be just the signage, so it's very kind of customizable. But yes, the city would have to have in the code the ability to create a conservation district before you can implement that. But we can certainly look at that in the recommendations and coordinate with the city. Thank you.
I have a question. So, going over the verbiage for the sign district, it kind of, in certain places, it melds signs with the word motel. So what if we had, if this moves forward, we want to preserve the signs. I assume we all want to preserve the signs, but what about the motels themselves? What about the architecture, the structure? How does that play into the district overall?
So for this particular proposal that we submitted, we would be looking at the motel property as a whole. And that would include what we are saying, the signage, we are saying that they are associated structures. So essentially, we're trying to kind of, find the right language to be able to review them within the National Register criteria. And so these would be associated structures. So we would be looking at the property as a whole.
So since we're kind of going into this a little late in time, the motels and signs have been there for years. So what if we have a property where we can save the sign, or we want to save the sign, but the architecture's been totally redone, revamped, redone, period. Would that affect the sign being in the district?
Well, the National Register allows for the designation of objects. So we could then call the sign an object. It's a little bit different in how the city register is implemented. And we would probably look at it as a structure, a single individual structure.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions. Why are you just concentrating on the hotels and motels? Why not the entire corridor that includes potentially a restaurant or two? And now that you're incorporating the hotel in the historic district, how does that work when you have two different historic districts that kind of collide or are combined in some degree? Or if you do include the hotel, is that maybe an option that you're considering to expand the Boulder City Historic District, or incorporate the motel district within the historic district? Have you gotten that far yet in your analysis?
No, so to answer your first question, I was just asked to put together a cost estimate for the motels. So there was no discussion about the commercial. And I think this was because, we are already in the early stages of starting the broader citywide historic context, which will include all of everything that's outside of the district, including commercial, industrial, and public, and et cetera. When I say we're going to include the Boulder Dam Hotel, I mean in the context. Like, here is a hotel that existed, but not necessarily I'm guessing if we make a district recommendation, it would not, it's really hard to overlap districts, and it's kind of, discontiguous. So we would definitely focus on the area that's, along Nevada Way, but we have to include that in the context as an early example of, lodging in Boulder City.
Is it enough that, and again, you'll probably have to figure this out as you're going through the research, but it almost seems like it's an extension of the Boulder, the Henderson corridor of hotels.
Boulder Highway?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And was there an association, you know, whether directly or indirectly, or is it just because of that motel 1950s, 60s time period of style that extended from Vegas through Henderson, down Boulder Highway into Boulder City to Hoover Dam, which was the destination, the tourist destination. So,
Yeah, that will be interesting to find out for sure. When in my previous life, I did a historic survey of the hotels and motels along Fremont Street in Las Vegas. And, you know, that was just you know, we were supposed to not go out of the city boundaries. And so that was just a segment of, you know, the bigger picture. And in the research, we did find that, you know, yes, it did absolutely go all the way down Boulder Highway, and most likely into Boulder City as well. So the most likely there was a connection there. So that will be an interesting aspect to research for sure.
okay. My other question, you mentioned that the report is not a National Register nomination. I get that. It's rather recommendations to either move forward or not with that. And this is maybe a question for the city. Is it a recommendation? Do you go forward or do you state in the report that these properties are potentially or are eligible for the National Register, even though you haven't yet created a nomination? And if your report does state as such that, yes, this property is eligible for the National Register, does that then allow for that property owner to apply for RDA grants and or state or federal grants if it's eligible for the National Register, but not listed as yet?
Let me try to address that question. So, I mean, the primary purpose here is to evaluate the what. What do we have? What's the historical context? Before you can make any determinations about what you do with that information. So this is the reconnaissance level survey information. In terms of whether they could seek grants, if as a result of this information, it's determined that there is an appropriate number of structures that could be created as a new historic district, and if the city does adopt a new historic district, there's steps that would be involved per our historic preservation ordinance to go through to do that, then it could be eligible for RDA funds. Certainly in terms of National Register nominations, I think we'd be looking at a similar process, and Courtney will correct me if I'm wrong, for individuals to consider their own applications to do that further research that we did with the historic airport hangar. So that would be like a next level. This is within the context of the initial steps necessary to determine if a historic district can be created.
If a historic district can be created and or if individual properties are also?
Are the district lines larger?
No, that's not my question. My question is, going back to what I was saying, if you, in this reconnaissance survey, determine whether yes or no, there's a district, but there's also within the district potentially individually eligible properties. It doesn't have to be in a district, is what I'm getting at, for a property to get RDA grants. It has to be historic.
It would have to be in a historic district to get RDA grants for the historic preservation RDA grant. Certainly all the properties along the motel corridor right now are in the RDA and are eligible for RDA grants now.
Is the hangar in the RDA district?
The hangar is in the RDA district, yes.
And if it's individually historic and it's not in a district, then it can get RDA funds.
With respect to the historic preservation grant, I'd have to go back and look at the guidelines to clarify that point, because it's not in a historic district.
Okay.
But it's eligible for general RDA grants.
Okay. If you could figure that out or let us know on that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, so I have another question because I got a little bit confused here. Are we trying to move forward on just the Motel Row or the corridor there, or are we trying to move forward on doing an evaluation of anything that has been built after 2000, what is it, you said 1980 and under?
And, sorry.
Sorry, 1931 to 1986.
Okay.
And
So
that's
what are
what-
we voting for here?
That's where we're seeking direction from the commission. Because as Courtney noted previously, the commission had given us direction that they wanted us to pursue goal 3.1 and 3.2 within the historic preservation plan as the next project to work on. That is looking at all properties within the community between the time period that Courtney just mentioned. With last month's ask, Courtney looked more specifically at the motel district area. This could be incorporated into the original direction of the commission to look at all properties within that time period. Because again, before we can take any steps toward consideration of a new historic district, we need to know the what. We need to know what is the historical context within the timeframes laid out in the staff report. And so that's the work that Broadbent would do for us.
Can we, like, speed it up a little bit? Well, I'm only asking because this is the first time I've heard that they're going to look at everything. So nothing really has been done for a while, at least as far as I've noticed.
If I can jump in here, part of my role here as an advisory member is to say some of the unpopular things. This is not a fast process. And if you want to create a district, we're talking years, many years. Creating a district is not an easy task. There are several levels you have to go through, both meeting SOI standards, Nevada revised statutes, city code. This is not an easy process. This is something that's going to take a long time. It's also going to take a lot of resources. You have to have all the historical documentation noted, backed up, researched, and very clearly identified. It then has to be presented to this board. If the board, or the commission, if the commission approves it, it goes on to the Nevada Board of Museums and History, and then from there it goes on to the federal government for the Secretary of Interior to review. This is not a quick process.
So then, are the properties within this research protected during the time that
No.
they're evaluating them?
Not until an official designation is made or if the city takes action to incorporate it into its own city code.
I would just add that if they are recommended eligible, and they're only recommended eligible until they've been determined eligible by the keeper of the National Register. So if they're recommended eligible, they do have some protection under the Section 106 National Historic Preservation Act from impacts from federal projects, but that's a different, it's not really, protected from owner demolition. It's protected, like, for example, if they wanted to reroute Nevada Highway and it would, they needed right-of-way or something from those properties, then they would have an opportunity to comment. But so that's the only time that they would be given any protection until they were, and even after they're designated with the National Register, that doesn't protect them from a property owner demolishing them. The only thing that offers that additional level of protection is local designation, which is kind of counterintuitive, but local designation has more teeth than the National Register.
So is the local designation a little bit easier process? Can it be?
No, as Dr. McMahon just explained, it's going to take multiple steps. But the first step is, again, we have to figure out the what. And that's the survey process and the assessment of the historical context of the properties. Really, what we're looking for from guidance from the commission tonight is, do you want us to look specifically at the motel district or continue with goals 3.1 and 3.2 in the broader context of the entire community to follow through with the historic preservation goals that were set?
Okay, one more question. So if we separated it, would it help the process move a little bit faster by separating it, or is it going to be the same no matter what if it was a whole?
If we separated, if we conducted the motel survey first, that would be priority, and it would be quicker than, waiting for the whole big survey, if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of the same. Because the larger survey is doing the same thing. We are doing the research to provide a context on how the city of Boulder City grew and between 1931 and 86, and then we'll provide recommendations for, we will determine the areas that are significant and then we will provide recommendations for further study. And if we find a neighborhood or individual buildings or something that we think are significant and should go forth as, being designated on the city or national register, then that process kicks in. So it's kind of the same.
So if this is a process that you already started, how far into it are you?
For the larger context, we just started. We just met with Roger from the Boulder Dam, Boulder City Hoover Dam Museum today to look at the collection and see what, how to coordinate with them on getting some research done. So we're not that far into it.
Okay.
And with our staff with Broadbent staff resources, it would be challenging to do them both at the same time.
From a fiscal standpoint, I'll just say I find your estimates quite conservative, which is probably good for the city. If we're going to split this up, do you have an estimate of how much the larger survey might go up over time? Because I think that's worth considering here. We have the option to do it all, or we can do this in pieces, and doing it in pieces could potentially cost the city more in the long run.
So if we include this in the bigger survey, we would not be doing an intensive level look at the individual buildings. So it would be more like, we would, and most likely because just, what we know about the motels, we would probably recommend that these be looked at for further study, and then the intensive level would kick in. So I guess in answer to your question, Commissioner, I'm sorry, my glasses are so terrible, Fastow, that it would be quicker to just, go ahead and start with the motels because we have that extra step with the larger survey. But the cost estimates should remain the same because, like I said, this is an intensive level survey of the motels, so that's why there's a little bit more cost associated with it. With the bigger context, we would just be, like a windshield survey of the motels, so it won't impact that estimate.
Thank you for the clarification.
That answered your question.
It did. Thank you.
So one of the, in the agenda on page 36, it states, funding for a historic context statement can be sourced through CLG government grant program, the National Park Service, and the National Trust for Historic Preservation, as well as through other state and federal grants. It mentions nothing about where the city's commitment funding-wise would be here.
So it's just an alternative resource, but the city has the resources to move forward with either one of these initiatives based on the approved budget for Broadbent over a 5-year period.
Can you please add that to the notes? Because I was just curious if there was a need to formally request the consideration for setting aside funds for this, for either both the hotel and or the broader project.
No,
But
it's
there's
within the
need for that?
context of that budget and the contract.
Okay, thank you. That's good to hear. So do we need to, are you seeking direction from us to move forward, yes, with your research? Do we need to specify that it has to be
I think the
split
question
out?
here is which one?
I would like to make a motion that we move forward with the motels separately.
Do I have a second? I second that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Need to ask for those opposed.
Two ayes and one nay. All right. Thank you, Courtney. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Good to see you guys.
You too. Glad you were here in person.
I know.
It did. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4 for possible action, discussion regarding activities for Historic Preservation Day and award for 2026.
All right, this is the next opportunity for the commission to discuss planning for the May event in 2026. So as we've done in the past, we've got material within the packet that talks about prior themes, that shows the 2025 flyer, and of course, Commission's already given us direction to proceed with the utility mailer regarding nominations for the Historic Preservation Award. So that is proceeding. So Commission's opportunity to further discuss.
I have a few ideas. Architecture and planning, the making of Boulder City. The desert to dwelling, the origins of Boulder City. Work, community, and water, the Hoover Dam era. Preserving the past, planning the future. Or small town, big character. Heritage in the desert, nature, town preservation. Those are my ideas.
But you've been busy.
I like your,
You've been busy.
I like your small town, big character. I think that that's very catchy.
Small town, big character.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a lot of characters. I mean, character.
The only thing I was gonna, I don't have a theme like you did, that was wonderful. But one of the activities I'm thinking that we need to do is recognize Alan Stromberg, local architect who recently passed away, and he was instrumental in setting up the original Historic Preservation Committee. Establishing and passing the original Historic Preservation Ordinance, coming up with the first iteration of design guidelines. He also was really sensitive about the new architecture that he was commissioned to add within the Historic District. His homes and commercial properties, they're all over the downtown area, but they blend in really well within the Historic District. So I'm proposing that there be some kind of recognition, celebration of his work within that day's celebration. So.
I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
And I'd be happy to spearhead that and get some information and, figure out what would that look like. Invite the family, other folks, recipients of his work, if we could figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That
We could do
sounds great.
architecture and planning, the making of Boulder City.
That's a good idea, because then that
Kinda
ties
boring
in
though,
with, that would tie in with your idea.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So in the past, these have largely been go to a site, go to a different site, go to a different site. And I think when we do that, a lot of the character of the historic district gets lost because you're only in one place and you lose some of the sense of place. I think maybe one thing to consider this year would be a walking tour that looks at some of the historic houses and the broader district as a whole, rather than just an individual place.
Are you offering to give those tours?
Yes, he is.
I believe, I'd have to check my calendar, but I believe I am actually out of town that week. I think there's plenty of people in town who are competent to do that. I think this would be a good time to also look at our community resources like the Hoover Dam Boulder City Museum. They've got wonderful staff who can work with this. You know, we have citizens in town who are very passionate about this. There's lots of opportunities here.
And Main Street Boulder City is going to be doing the drawings with the elementary school again.
Good.
Yes.
It's my understanding that they would like to continue with that program if the commission wants to partner with them.
I think that was excellent. I'd love to.
It was.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the walking tour. Did you have a particular area or?
Oh no, I hadn't got that far. I just thinking aloud.
That's the idea.
Okay. Because I think it's important if we can narrow down, like, is it the housing area, the commercial area, a particular neighborhood, then we can start reaching out to those folks who may be interested in helping with those types of walking tours. So maybe at the next meeting or between now and the next meeting, kind of come up with ideas of where this walking tour or walking tours might exist. So.
And for those who are passionate in the audience, you're more than welcome to give your thoughts at public comment too.
You're even more than welcome to volunteer to do the tour. Just throwing that out there.
A walking tour of the Flamingo Hotel.
I think my broader goal here is to think of this as we're responsible for the district. And let's think about the district as a whole rather than these little one-offs.
Well, shouldn't we include this gentleman's architectural designs as part of the walking tour, since we're going to...
That's the wonderful thing about a walking tour, is you can set it up however you want to be flexible to your needs. Obviously, let's keep in mind those that may not be as mobile and how that would impact them, but you want to set it up so it's reasonable, not overexerting, especially early May. It can be a little warm out, so take those into consideration, but showcase the district.
Maybe the hotel district could be part of that tour, or could be a tour.
Yep.
If there's enough information or folks who want to take that on. So.
And it could also be, maybe do a special nighttime thing to look at the lights. And I know,
Excellent
I don't want to
idea.
volunteer your staff for after hours, but I don't know how it could be done to where you had a official, unofficial event. That you guys don't have to be at.
That's a great idea.
Well, certainly if you got the motels to partner with you, similar to what happens with the wine walks in the downtown, they could host folks and, bring them in and give the history, share the history of the motels.
That's an excellent idea.
And just a reminder, historic preservation, we celebrate Historic Preservation Day, but it's actually a full month. So
It is.
if we need multiple days, nights to celebrate, maybe we can consider that.
I like that idea.
Especially if it coordinates with a wine walk weekend. So we'll have to figure out what their theme is in May. But anybody else have any ideas?
I have a suggestion. All the things that we come up with and we put them into action. We put a lot of time and energy in and spend some money and whatever. And we get coverage, of course, in the local paper and on BCTV. But I would like to expand our promotional footprint concerning Historic Preservation Day. And one of the things I'm thinking of is if we could publish a magazine-type publication, not just Xerox pages, but something really nice, glossy. And we have, as a matter of fact, we would have photos of some of the motel signs that we're talking about, let people know about them, with the address of the sign and the name of the business. We also, of course, more than anything, have a schedule of the activities that we're going to be putting on during Historic Preservation Day. I would also like to suggest, if it's appropriate, that we invite the city's public relations lady to come to one of our meetings and discuss with her. Again, I would like to expand our promotion. I'd like to get stories in the Review Journal and the Las Vegas Sun. I'd like to get us on all the TV stations. Perhaps our chairwoman would be a guest on these TV shows and talk about HPC Day and what we're doing. And the result of all that is that we'd get a whole lot more people in. Again, we're putting in time and energy and money for all these wonderful things. But I think we've kind of been limited as to our audience. And so those are some suggestions. Whatever it is that we decide to come up with as far as activities, I would like to, as I say, expand the promotional footprint and let Southern Nevada know what we're doing and invite all those people to come to our event. That's my suggestion.
I will tell you, it's really difficult to get press coverage. I send press releases out regularly. The media does what they're going to do. We couldn't even get them to show up for the groundbreaking for the museum.
Well, as you probably know, I am a journalist, and I do work with the media. And it might be difficult for some people, but I believe I could get the job done. Unfortunately, we have to rely on the PR lady who gets paid to do that. But if she would like some assistance, I'm certainly available, and I believe I could get us coverage. And if we don't get coverage, it won't cost us anything. But if we do get coverage, it's a $1 million deal.
I just want to temper expectations.
I appreciate your offer, Chuck, towards that effort.
Sure.
Any other ideas? Okay. So no deadlines pending coming up from us, or as far, well, the flyer, do you need to know that we approve that flyer?
Well, we got direction before to move
Okay.
forward that flyer, because we needed that by now so that we can get that in the utility mailer in time
Okay.
to allow people to vote
Okay.
or nominate.
So are we voting on this flyer? Because I like it. No, or it's already been voted on.
You already provided direction to follow what we did last year.
Okay.
I will say, it seems like we're moving ahead much more quickly this year.
I agree, yeah.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you for this. All right, so
When will this be in the mailer? Do we know yet?
It's January? Yes.
So we can still edit it slightly?
Yes, if you have any corrections, just let me know and I can make those.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, I had one. Did you have, it is? Oh. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let you know. All right, Thank you for all the excellent ideas. Moving on to agenda item 5. Update on implementation of the commission's goals and priorities.
Again, a monthly agenda item. Any changes are noted in bold, and we can answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 6, discussion or update on the status of properties in the historic district and or other potentially eligible properties.
Similarly, a monthly report to the commission. Changes are noted in bold, and we can answer any questions.
Thank you for the update on the flagpole. Anybody else have any comments? All right, moving on to agenda item number 7, for possible action, commission discussion regarding potential agenda items for upcoming Historic Preservation Commission meetings.
Clarification for staff. Next month would be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Is that meeting going to be vacated or rescheduled?
Typically, what we do is, yes, we vacate that, or actually don't have that meeting. We have it the first week in December.
Okay. Thank you.
So then there would not be a second meeting in December.
Because we'd run the same problem with Christmas.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. I'm just clarifying.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing.
All right, all good. All right. Now is the final comment period for the evening. Each person has up to 3 minutes to speak on any topic. The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide comment. Please come to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
Hi, Brenda Lormier, and thank you for bringing up and approving the motel sign district. Excited about that. So I think we were volunteered to give a tour. I don't know.
Voluntold.
Yeah, we'd be happy to. I think we have to clean up a little bit, but yeah, we'd be happy to. I love all the ideas for Historic Preservation Day, so particularly, I don't know if you knew this, but we had hired Alan to be our initial architect, so we were really sad to hear that he passed. So would love to work with you on anything that you're going to do for that. Just let me know. You know how to get a hold of me. You know where I live. And I also love the idea of a walking tour, something like that. And one thing that actually in all of our meetings with contractors, and the city, whenever I get stuck, I call Jill Lagan or text her, and she's been wonderful. She's been a great resource, and something that she, one suggestion she had to me is to combine events. She gave me an idea of, combine, well, she had said something like, dark skies night with, say, a dessert food truck thing. So I wanted to suggest that, if you're going to do something at night with all the motel signs, maybe also make it I don't know if you can walk that far away from the signs, but maybe if you can use it as an opportunity to educate also on the dark skies initiative that we have, or even pointing out the new streetlights that we've gotten and something like that. So there's a couple ideas, but yeah, I really love the idea of a walking tour, and I'll also try to think of some routes that are feasible. Even just up to the top of Nevada Way, where you can see, come over the crest and you can see Lake Mead. That's one of the first things I did when I first came here in 2004 on vacation, and that's just one of the most spectacular views that made me fall in love with the town. So maybe consider that, and then, it is kind of hard for those who have mobility issues, but it's at least all downhill from there. So that's one idea. So yeah, thank you all and have a good night.
We do have someone on the phone if you'd like to take that comment. Public comment, go ahead.
My name is Robin Baker. I have, first, I want to tell you that this meeting was actually a wonderful meeting. It's exciting to know that there are people who truly are interested in the sign district, and I'd like to find out a clarification on that, because when the community was up speaking to what it was going to be, it was a sign district. Then when it was the conversation by Mr. Mays brought in goals 3.1 and 3.2, and it changed to a different conversation. So at some point, I hope that that is clarified. There's, in my mind, there's a need to clarify, is it a sign district? Okay, I think that's a wonderful, because it's part of that corridor. And signs would include, of course, the Southwest. But there also is reference to the historic district. Are we talking about the original historic district, added historic district? And when Courtney was speaking, she said it's starting in 1931. A survey has already been done of the 1931 to, I think it's 1940 something. So why are we going back to that time frame? I understand there are other houses that need to be possibly evaluated. But my problem is that we are not doing anything with what we have at this point. My understanding is, and I don't have any clear numbers despite the fact I've been asking, that we have dropped to less than 40% of contributing houses in the current historic district. We are not meeting the expectations of the National Registry. And so to continue to broaden the prospect of historic district, I don't know what that means, and I don't know how that would be of value when, my question at this point is, what are we going to do if we lose the historic district? We are, as we build new houses within the historic district, we lose contributing our percentage of contributing houses. The third thing that I'd like to speak to is about language. One of the things that Ms. Mooney said was an intensive survey. What does that mean? How does an intensive survey compare to a survey? I have read 3.1, 3.2. I've read the proposed scope of work. I do not really understand what would be the difference between an intensive survey as opposed to a simple survey. So I think it is extremely important to use correct language, because we are setting this information out for the public, and it needs to be clearly understood, especially if we're trying to generate interest and energy. The third thing is, I love the idea of a walking tour. That would be a great thing, and I would be happy to help. Thank you for the time.
Hello again. Brandon Smith for the record. I'd just like to thank the Commission for recognizing the importance of Agenda Item 3 and moving forward the Motel Sign District and its effort to be recognized officially. So thank you for that. For Agenda Item 4, I'm blessed enough to have interacted with Alan on numerous occasions. He's also the architect of my forever home. And his contributions to the city cannot go unrecognized, I think, in any way, shape, or form. And his passing was it came with much personal sadness, and I would love to volunteer my own efforts to honor him and his contributions to the city. His fingerprints are all over Boulder City, and we would be remiss in our obligations as good humans to not recognize his contributions to Boulder City and all that he contributed to our lives and to the city and to its character. And we owe it to him to remain steadfast in recognizing how important historic character is and how important it is to Boulder City specifically. People travel far and wide. Lake Mead is one of the most visited parks in the country, and we have the opportunity to lure them through our beautiful downtown and treat them to a really good time. And I think with this upgraded attention to the motel sign district, as long as we can disseminate that interest, I think that's very important. Personally, I've participated in each of the preservation days that have taken place since I've been here. I would love a piece of artwork to go along with the day. I've discussed this repeatedly throughout the years, doing a super cool retro, kind of pirate mappy kind of thing for the historic district, something that people who are owners within the historic district and potentially not even in the historic district can proudly hang on their wall and say, that's my house. I would love to see if we can coordinate something of that nature, and I'd be happy to help participate in that design as well. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Kaufman, and I just want to say that I'm in support of a sign district. I question the motivation of the individuals who are the architects. I urge you to slow down because a lot of people in the community have no idea what's happening, especially if there's a $42,000 price tag attached to it. So I think people need to be more aware. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, we will close this comment period, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. And do you need to go?